Okay, what's going on, guys? I'm Jim Deal. I'm the owner and founder of Ellipse Athletics, and I'm the head coach. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for over 2 decades, so kind of seen it all, worked with Olympic teams, developed collegiate programs, and today I'm going to talk about what the hell do I do for training. I'm a bit of an interesting situation. Number one, I'm in my 40s now, officially, as of a few months ago. Number two, I've had some pretty heavy injuries throughout my life, just, sports related injuries, torn ACL, actually have no ACL on my right knee, limited meniscus on my right knee. I have no AC joint, it's a full 3rd degree tear. I've had a rod in my femur, I've torn my lat, broken hands, kind of you name it, I've been through some degree of it. So what my goals are right now is a few. Number one, I want to be athletic. Now this is really ambiguous and I hate ambiguous goals, but essentially what this means is I can pick up super heavy shit, I can run fast, run far, and I could essentially jump into the NFL Combine, and the goal would be on the physical side, I could not make a complete ass of myself. That's a pretty lofty goal, but that's where I want to be. Number two, I want to get my bench press back up. Before I had this shoulder injury, I had about a 425 max tested bench as a natural athlete at about 205, 210 pounds. Right now I'm about 203. I don't expect to have my bench press that high. That was in my younger years, but I do have my eye on ideally getting back up to 4 plates one of these days. So 365 to 405, I'm pretty damn close to that 365 right now. My third goal is kind of twofold. I want a front squat 405 and I want a deadlift 585. So all of these things I'm relatively close to, minus the 405 bench, but that's where my training is designed to do. Now the challenging part is when you mix athletic endeavors with just static lifting, it becomes really hard to get to those goals, especially as a natural athlete, especially someone in my 40s. So these numbers are not extravagant for someone that is either enhanced or has a singular focus on those, but to do all of them at once is very, very challenging. So this is how my current block is going to look. Now I'm getting into something called the 5-3-1 system. I've never been the biggest fan of this system. I've never heavily implemented it over broad demographics of athletes. One of the reasons I'm kind of getting into it now is I find it to be pretty interesting. I've always known about it. I've always known its merits, but mixing this with essentially a form of conjugate or a bastardized form of conjugate training is actually what is really working for me right now. Okay, so this is how my training's broken down. It is 6 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rest, repeat. This is push, bench focused. This is pull, plus plyo, plus conditioning. Day 3 is push. This is squat focused. Day 4 is again pull, plus plyo, plus conditioning. Day 5 is going to be squat plus bench again. And this day, okay, my writing's horrible. This day is an interesting one because I judge my 5th session by how I feel. So if I'm completely beat up, I'm gonna stick at lower rep ranges and lower outputs and just try and keep the nervous system from completely being fried, just to get some movement rehearsal and just to work on the technique. If I feel really good coming into these days, then I'm going to stick with both traditional lifts, back squat paused, okay? No, day 6 is the rest. Back squat paused and bench paused, okay? So the way I outline this setup, quite simply, I come into this and week 1 is I work up to 3 times 5 reps. Now, 3 working sets, I usually have 3 to 5 build sets, which would be singles and doubles, so 1 or 2 reps, just working up, warming myself up, movement rehearsal, etc. So this 3 by 5 would be essentially, I usually make the jumps and go 75, 80, 85%. Week 2 is going to be 3 by 3, and these reps, or the percentages would then be 80, 85, 90. Now, percentages are tough because usually when you say 90%, that usually means for 3 reps that you are completely maxing out. Percentages will really vary, so I will actually treat this like an RIR of 1. So it might not be all the way as high as 90. This is also going to be treated like an RIR of 1. And what I mean by RIR is reps in reserve. So I'm not ideally completely maxing out. Week 3 is then going to be a set of 5, a set of 3, and a set of 1. So that means I'm ideally going to go 85, 90, and then max. Now, the challenging thing on this is, am I going to max out each lift 3 times in a week? Absolutely not. That would be crazy. Unless you're Bulgarian, training Bulgarian, and you're an absolute animal. What I do is this would be a max out on the push, okay? Then for my squat variation, I would usually use some form of conjugate. So even though I would be getting into that max, I would either have bands or chains, which would allow me to stick at about 70% at the bottom and then very close to the max at the top. So when my muscles under extreme stretch, like on a deep squat, when my hamstrings and quads are elongated, I'm not maxing them out. So I'm not creating as much fatigue. Then my squat would max here, and then my bench would again be accommodating resistance. Now, like I said, depending on how I feel on these days, that is where I'm going to map out how I feel going into those days. If I feel really good on both lifts, then I'm just gonna go for it and I'm gonna try and max them out. These would both be paused reps. So these would be, in my opinion, like your truest of maxes, okay? These would be touch and go, everything else here, unless I decide to pull a little variation early week, which sometimes I will, but generally speaking, I won't. Now, for pull work, this is really important. If I'm getting into things like heavy barbell rows and things that just load up the entire system, I'm gonna get absolutely destroyed. So right now, my pull work almost exclusively consists of pull-ups and chin-ups. That includes, so basically I'm never having axial loading. I'm actually getting traction in my spine on these. I'm focusing on sub-max reps. One day a week I will focus on loading, and I'll be at like an RIR 1 or 2. The next day of the week, I'm gonna focus on volume, and then I'll try and keep things between 10 and 15, ideally 20 reps. I'm trying to get my max pull-ups up to 20 reps, almost there again. It's funny how you lose things so quick if you don't do them. So that's how I do that. With the plyo work, on these days, I would also have some aesthetic work, like biceps, whatever, you gotta always look good. With my plyo work, this day is bilateral, this day is unilateral. So I'll focus on one of each. I'll also incorporate linear plyos and lateral plyos. So again, example of a bilateral plyometric would be simple pogos or rebound jumps, or rebound broad jumps. The single leg stuff would be kind of lower impacts because it's, on a single joint. Then for conditioning early in the week, I would like to ideally do a longer run, get some sort of run, which is gonna shit kick me. And then when I'm fatigued later in the week, I would do something biking. I do try and hike every single day though. So I'm always hiking, I'm always keeping like zone 2 up, always trying to get 10,000 steps in a day. Now, for my accessory work on my push. Sorry, there's a lot of info. I hope this makes sense. I hope people enjoy hearing about this. My accessory is going to be, on my push days, is going to be a secondary push, which isn't truly an accessory, it's just your second drill, but would be, so example, if I'm doing my push day and I'm doing a bench or an incline bench as my primary, then I would do the opposite of that. So on an incline primary, my secondary would be a flat version, and vice versa. So I would always include one of those, but the rep range will usually be 6 to 10 reps or 6 to 12 reps. I do that on each day. On top of that, I will do dips on every single pull day because that's for me that is great for my shoulder health. It's great for my shoulder mobility, putting your shoulder in that extreme extension. And then I will always do rotator cuff and or just straight deltoid isolation. So lateral raises is a massive staple. That's not rotator cuff specific, but then I'll do a lot of other rotator cuff. And because I'm hitting my triceps so much, I'll only add tricep specific work usually to the end because then I'll just fry my triceps and then I'll get my rest and get into it. Okay, this is a very complicated way of looking at training. This is not how I recommend everybody looks at training. I love having fun with this. I like nerding out with this. I like the fact that this is a way that allows my body to constantly be pushed, but I don't feel shit kicked all the time. I like to keep my workouts on the heavy push days, they're about an hour and a half. On the pull and plow days, they're about an hour. So my time in the gym is not absolutely crazy, but I'm also pretty lucky that I have this facility in my house. So I can come here and train whenever I want and I can make it work. That covers most of it. I hope that was interesting for some of you, and I'm gonna be doing a lot simpler breakdowns of my clients' periodization also. So tune in again, have a kick-ass day, hope the lifting's going well.